Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today. We're talking about e-commerce and leveraging e-commerce for exporters, for America's exporters. We're really delighted that you could join us, and it's great to be all here together. We know that especially in the sort of festive season, your time is really precious. Everything's sort of piling up for the end of the year. So we really are grateful that you've taken the time today to spend it with us, to talk about e-commerce in its widest and narrowest fields in all the possible things. So it is time you've taken out of your day. We respect that. We want you to make the most out of it. We've packed a lot of information into this webinar. And but we do want you to sit back and enjoy it and listen. So we will give you a recording of the webinar tomorrow. It's in your inbox. You might have to check your spam, but it should be there. And also we would encourage you, drop questions into the chat box. As I said, this is a webinar just for you, for America's exporters. So enjoy it, take time, listen, engage, and ask us anything that is concerning for you as an American exporter looking at e-commerce. So just while the last of you are logging on, I'm just going to do a very quick introduction of who's speaking today, and it's very exciting for us. We're really delighted about this. First of all, we have James Bledsoe. James Bledsoe is the director of the E-commerce Innovation Lab, or Solutions Lab, at the U.S. Department of Commerce and Commercial Service. So we're really pleased that James brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise in the e-commerce sector, in the e-commerce field. He's there. His mission is to help America's exporters with e-commerce. So that is your man. Then we're really delighted that Pat Hansen is the president of Hartrue. Hartrue is a Virginia-based company, and they are a world leader in providing tennis court services. And I'm going to let both James and Pat introduce themselves and their services more to you during the webinar. But I'm delighted that Pat, who's really steered the company through a lot of its e-commerce development and has seen good success internationally using e-commerce. So he's here to share some of his experiences with you and help you, I hope, encourage you to move on to the e-commerce line and get involved with that. And then myself, my name is Susanna. I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. And I'll talk more about our services and what we do for e-commerce and what we're seeing coming down the track, the latest trends, a little bit later. So our agenda today, we'll start off with James talking about U.S. commercial service and the e-commerce agendas and services they provide, and then we're going to talk from Hartrue with Pat, looking at the sort of exporter's success story. And then I'll take it back. And look, we've got time at the end for questions. So please put your questions in. We're here to help. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to James and looking at U.S. commercial service and the e-commerce innovation lab with James.
Thank you, Susanna. Good morning, everybody. I'm James Bledsoe, and I'll be covering how to grow your exports leveraging e-commerce this morning before handing it over to Pat Hansen with Hartrue to learn how they at Hartrue learned to grow through exporting through e-commerce. Next slide, please. There we go. I'd like to first begin by introducing who I work for, the U.S. Commercial Service. We are a division of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and over the last year, we helped over 30,000 U.S. businesses, small and medium size. That constituted almost 600,000 U.S. jobs, and we helped them to generate over $2.2 million worth of exports in the last year. And we're here to help you as well. If you are a U.S. business, small, medium size, we can help you as well and help you understand how to sell through e-commerce as well. Next slide, please. So my main theme for my presentations and this presentation as well, is that e-commerce is growing as a sales channel. E-commerce was forecast to be over a quarter of retail sales by this year, and it has met that, actually exceeded that by a percentage point, and will forecast to be 30% of the total global retail sales by 2027. And that is not far away. That's just a short few years away. So there's going to be a lot of sales going through the e-commerce sales channel for the foreseeable future. Next slide, please. So we'll take a quick look first at the business to consumer, B2C retail e-commerce. We can see that through 2027, it's forecast steady growth at 14.4%. The leading sectors or segments in this retail are consumer electronics, fashion, furniture, toys and hobby. And you can see there towards the top of the blue of the charts there, a growing new segment that should be highlighted, which is the BHPHC, the biohealth pharmaceutical, vitamins, that sort of thing, holistic type products. And you can see to the right there in the chart that the products that have the highest sales are luxury apparel, followed by home furniture, which going back to the left here, we can see that furniture is the number 3 segment growing into the future. So there's quite a lot of opportunity there for selling everything from luxury apparel to vitamins to home furniture to services to industrial equipment, you name it. Speaking of which, we'll get to that here in a couple slides. Next slide, please. So where internationally are the sales happening for e-commerce overseas? Well, specifically, we're looking at Philippines, India, Australia, and Indonesia and Malaysia for some of the highest growth there. And they're in the Asia region there. We can see Asia is by and far leading the rest of the world when it comes to e-commerce purchases there, ahead of the Americas to include South America, Canada, and the US and Europe. And specifically, the countries doing most of the purchasing are China, Germany in Europe, the United Kingdom, also in Europe, US, France, and then the rest of the world. Next slide, please. So with an eye to B2B now, shifting out of the retail and consumer, what does the industrial e-commerce look like? Well, worldwide, the majority of businesses, over 90% of them, have shifted to an online virtual sales hybrid model at the least, with 2 exceptions, Japan and Korea, South Korea. Both of them, as you can see here with the light blue 15 and 13, that represents the sales force still visiting customers in person. So for these 2 markets in particular, they're going to be a little bit more difficult when it comes to entering that B2B online sales, simply for the fact that they still do a lot of it traditionally in person. Next slide, please. Looking further at the B2B, business to business e-commerce trends here, we can see that on this larger chart, the Asia Pacific region continues to gain market share of total e-commerce value and will throughout the foreseeable future. And looking at the chart above it, you can see why, and that is purely by population. Asia leading the world in internet users. There are more people there to conduct business than there are in the rest of the world. So if you're wondering why, that's it right there. There are simply more points of contact to do business with internationally within the Asia region. Next slide, please. So how do you reach these clients, these potential consumers, customers in overseas markets, perhaps in Europe, in Asia, in the African continent? Well, it begins with internationalization, making sure your website can be found in an international search when it should be found in an international search, so you can make that sale. And internationalization is, loosely put, a process that covers everything from search engine optimization to making it clear that you're open for international sales on all your pages, in addition to continually adding new content, that being the keywords and backlinks that are essential for that first part, search engine optimization. And then also continuing to look at your website analytics throughout the entire process to gauge the effectiveness of what you're doing. Next slide, please. So beginning with the first steps of internationalization, reaching these international consumers, how do you get started with that? Well, that usually begins with a search engine optimization audit. And we at the US Commercial Service have one for our clients at a very affordable price of $100 to $400, depending on your company size. That begins with that technical assessment of your website. How do search bots like your website? Are they seeing issues with it? And then moving on to international sales best practices for internationalization and other recommendations. And we deliver this in a very cost-effective manner in conjunction with our local partners from state chambers of commerces, economic development centers, small business development centers, including the local STEP grant administered by the SBA. And all of this takes up to 14 business days to deliver to you as a service, with a continuing 6 to 8 week follow-up to make sure that you receive all the resources needed to act on the recommendations in this gap analysis of your website and online sales presence. Next slide, please. So here are some resources to help you get started today understanding more about this process of cross-border e-commerce and learn what is essential. And we have right here the e-commerce frontline library as a wonderful resource where we cultivate articles that are both informative in the areas that they cover, be that post-pandemic e-commerce or Africa e-commerce spotlight. They also serve as a search engine optimization best practice learning example by the design and layout of each article. So if you're looking for ideas and inspiration while you're reading and educating yourself, you can also look for ideas to borrow for your own website. Next slide, please. I'd also like to highlight our Grow Your Export series that we're doing currently with IBT Online, our fiscal year 2024 strategic partner with the US Department of Commerce. And on here, we're doing a series of live streams through LinkedIn, graciously hosted by IBT Online, as well as webinars like this one and others that we'll be doing throughout the next calendar year to help educate you exporters on the ins and outs of growing your exports and increasing your sales. In addition to this, and I believe Susanna will be touching on this at a later point in this webinar, we're also piloting a Helping America's Exporters referral service with them to help you get the most out of the counseling from the US Commercial Service, as well as the downstream SEO assistance from IBT Online as you work to grow your exports online. Next slide, please. Rounding out the last of my slides here of resources, we also have e-commerce market research. If you're wondering how to sell to a specific country and how e-commerce is done in that specific country, you can look to our e-commerce resource guide on trade.gov/e-commerce, where you can find the e-commerce sections of the country commercial guides that we publish each year on over 140 countries worldwide at your fingertips. Next slide, please. And in closing, I'd like to just highlight some of the broader services and touch points that we at the U.S. Commercial Service have, in addition to our flagship Gold Key matchmaking service that we have that you may know us from, to the International Partner Search. We also do trade show outreach. So if you're going to any international trade show or domestic trade show in Vegas, Consumer Electronics, ProMedica, you name it, we have a presence there and can help you out with business-to-business matchmaking sessions, as well as informational sessions to help explain the ins and outs of the post-show follow-up of business meetings. Last slide, please. So with that, I would like to thank you all for your time and consideration of these resources here and the process involved in growing your online sales. So as you look to do this and get your inspiration from listening to Mr. Pat Hansen here with HardTrue, think about reaching out to one of our offices here at trade.gov, Commercial Service Offices US, and find a local trade specialist to get started on growing your exports today. Thanks, Susanna.
James, thank you. I'm actually going to ask directly if anyone, are you already in touch with U.S. Commercial Service? Do you know your local provider? Is that something you've been doing for years and you do this all the time, or are you just discovering this? I'd really appreciate if you could. Oh, you're all tapping, clicking away. Thank you very much. Very responsive audience today. I appreciate that. It's just so that we can get a feel of where you are and sort of, if you're already in touch with the local U.S. Commercial Service provider. And I'm gonna give you some feedback. There's a good chunk of you, like over 40%, that are not yet in touch with U.S. Commercial Service locally, and which is interesting. We'll bear that in mind, and we can only recommend that you do get in touch with these people. They are there, just like James. They are there to help you. They are there to help America's exporters. Everything from trade show to research to the e-commerce side that James was talking about today. They have a resource. They've got tools in their toolbox ready to help you at very, very affordable prices, and sometimes even for free. Thank you all very much. I'm going to close that poll now, and let's move on to Pat. But that was really interesting. Thank you very much. And I have there's at least 5 of you asking the same question again. Yes, you will get a recording of this in your inbox tomorrow. So just for that. So I'm going to pass over to Pat now and talk about HardTrue. If that's okay, Pat.
Yes, that's great. Thanks, Susanna, and thank you, James. And nice to have a chance to interact with everybody today. And I thought the easiest way to start here would be with our presentation. And if you want to back it up, go one slide, Susanna, just for a second. Sorry. There we go. Great. Sorry. So what I thought I would do is just share a few slides about the company so you can get a sense for who we are. And then after that, just talk through sort of chronologically how we approached the market. And are we able to get volume on the video at all, Susanna?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, that's no problem. I can narrate. So as you see in the text on the side, we're a company that's focused on providing tennis court surfaces, equipment, accessories, not just for tennis, but also for pickleball, basketball, bocce surfaces, and more. And we've been around doing it a long time. And we're best known for having all the equipment and accessories as well as the surfaces together, so a one-stop package. And we're typically have deep expertise in all the services we provide, and our goal is to leverage those to help people have, the best courts in the world. We also have a division of the company which is called Lobster, and we're the leading manufacturer and seller of ball machines that are used for tennis and pickleball. And they're typically portable ball machines that one can buy and take out to the court and use it to improve their game. And go ahead, you can advance the next slide. And just to give you a sense with some of the countries where we've exported the last couple of years, and I'll talk more about that as we come up, but as we move through the presentation. But we've definitely had a lot of countries on our radar. And more specifically, where we've really been focused is on the European market and catering specifically to the UK and then to Europe through a business we started in Germany. So Hartrue, just to say one other thing about our company is we have a mix of B2B and B2C business. And Lobster, for instance, is almost all B2C. And our tennis court business, our services are typically installed by people who are in the construction industry who are, getting our materials and actually building the court. So that's the B2B portion. And I would say that our strategically, this started with a very simple concept, which is that we wanted to be, we were very reactive with our international sales. So all those countries that you saw were countries that we sold to, but they were typically contacting us somehow. We were not being very proactive about contacting them. And we decided that we just wanted to go into more of a proactive approach to our international sales. So that was one simple concept to figuring out how we might add growth to what we were doing. And then secondly, we wanted to really tap into the next largest market in the world for the products we sell, and that was Europe. So the US and Canada is the largest tennis market and pickleball market in the world, and Europe is second. And at the top of the list in Europe is Germany, and second is the UK, which are the markets we've been focused on. I would say that we faced a lot of serious headwinds on the way. We started in 2018, so since then we've been through Brexit, a pandemic, war in the Ukraine, inflation, a minor recession in Europe. So I'm not sure if you were trying to time the best time to go into Europe that we hit that on the head, but let's just say that we learned a lot on the journey, and we're still there. And actually, obviously there were some low points in our efforts, but since we've been at it, our sales has increased roughly 50% from when we first started back in 2019, and we continue to see the rate of growth rising as we've moved further and further away from the pandemic. So our story was that when we launched our proactive effort, we did two things. One, we acquired a distributor of ours that was based in the UK, and they were already active, had an active customer base that were buying our products on a retail basis from them, but they were not a retail seller. They were, we bought it from somebody who'd been running the business for decades, and they did everything via email, contacting customers directly, asking them to submit orders. So it was anything but an e-commerce business. It was sort of the opposite, other than it was a consumer who was doing the purchasing. And so we had a chance to take over that business and evolve that. And certainly adding e-commerce was one of the first things that we did. The second thing we did was we hired a consultant. We knew we wanted to be in Germany, so we hired a consultant specifically to help us assess the German market and maybe more generally Europe. But we knew if we wanted to establish a hub for a business, we felt we needed something in addition to the UK because of Brexit, and we felt that Germany was the place we wanted to be. And so I was over there personally, probably drove 2,500 kilometers through Germany, meeting with people in all parts of the purchasing chain, from the end user who at the clubs, to players, to federations, to tennis court builders, to really understand the marketplace. And that was kind of how we got going. And the outcome of that was we decided that we wanted to start our own GmbH. We felt we needed to actively have a business in country, and we identified, just through research, a company that specialized in helping American companies get started setting up their, registering their business, setting up a bank account, finding accounting partners, etc. And so we also identified in 2019 a local company to help us build our first online store. We figured that it would be better to have a local company in Germany do this for us because, of course, we didn't speak German and we needed somebody who could help us on that front. And I would say that overall, what you'll hear from me in our journey is we made some good choices, but we also made a whole lot of mistakes. And one of the mistakes we made was actually choosing a company in Germany to help us build a website because, to be honest, Europe is behind the US in terms of its entry into e-commerce and in terms of the expertise there. There was not as much tech sort of embedded in those countries. And in hindsight, we should have gone elsewhere, but that's how we got started. Of course, 20 to 21, well, the pandemic taught us a lot. And I would say, because we did get our store open and started, we had a customer service team, a local address in Dusseldorf. We were handling the UK customer service ourselves from the US. And we also had a warehouse in Germany that could ship product anywhere in Europe, but also into the UK as well. So that's kind of how we set it up. We had a in-country customer service team, an in-country warehouse, an in-country business address, and we served everybody from Germany like we were, like the German company that we were. And our online store, of course, was fully translated into German, which meant we had to understand, what search terms were going to get us to the top of the list in Germany. And we needed somebody in our industry who could also help us understand what terms the customers would be using for different products that might be somewhat different than we would have gotten if we just tried to get a translation online. So having a local partner there to help us through a lot of that was really important. So 20 to 21, just when we were getting everything was going, everything shut down. And I'll tell you what, one thing it did make me recognize is the importance of some face-to-face nature to the business, especially in Germany. So James mentioned how, there are some countries where, relationship is still a really important part of the sales call. And what I found is that in terms of us building credibility and building relationships with customers, to be there in 2019, we started our company in about May in 2019, and to be there for about 6 months and then be gone for a year, that was not helpful at all, because people, they really want to connect with you and understand that you're going to be there for them in the future. That's what I found, and it just slowed down everything that we were doing and made it took a little bit longer for people to gain their trust in us. But that kind of face-to-face doesn't necessarily have to be an ongoing thing. You just need somebody that can connect you within country to important people, to influencers in your industry. And then once you've built that trust and understanding that you're there to stay, I think then you don't have to be there quite as often in the future. At least that's what we found. So after we got through 2020, we saw a really nice lift in 2021. People were back buying again. They were happy to get outside and be playing tennis, needless to say, and sales rose very rapidly. And so 2022 to the present, I would say, for us, we wanted to keep experimenting and learning. And one of the great things about starting with an e-commerce business over in Europe for us is that you can do it without that much investment up front. Yeah, we established some business partners over there, but they weren't employees of the company. They were external contractors, and they helped us just get started without having to invest a huge amount. Even the warehouse we got was a small warehouse with just enough product to really serve the market at the scale we were at that time. So e-commerce is a very simple, fundamental way to get started without having to spend a whole lot of money. And that's one thing that I definitely would do again if we were starting over. So 22 to the present has been about, keep experimenting and learning, seeing what's working and stepping on the gas of those at those tactics, seeing what's not working, tweaking our product line. we certainly found that we got better at telling our story. We started to put more videos out there. We started to understand which products, of course, we're selling and people were interested in. And you know, I think that as far as telling our story goes, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard enough to tell your story in your home country, right? To get people to realize what you're about and who you are. And so you've got to imagine that dealing with cultural and language differences, it's hard to really break through and get somebody to pay attention to you and understand what you're really doing there. But for us, once we got to the point that people started to recognize that we were there because we felt we could really add value. As the largest tennis company in the world, we had products and services and surfaces that they didn't have, and we felt like we could enhance what was going on in their industry and just make their world better. Once we helped them understand that, it became a lot easier to connect with them. So that was a big part of you know, augmenting that in 2022 and 2023. We also explored acquisitions. I mentioned that in the UK, we acquired a company to get in there. That was a very good way to get in that it gave us a base of business. We had customers we could talk to. We could find out what they were already buying from us and why, and if there are things that they were interested in that we hadn't put over there in the marketplace yet. So it is a very good way to start a business. Obviously, start your time in a foreign country, but obviously there's a little more risk involved. It's a little more expensive, and there's some challenges with that as well. But I would say, for us, we did it two different ways, and I think what we did in Germany worked really well. I would say that we also are content with what's happened in the UK, but UK has actually been a little harder to take a company that was built around sort of old communication strategies and turn it into an e-commerce company. At least that's been our experience. If you're wondering a little bit about how we're selling e-commerce wise, so we basically use Shopify, and they're our primary storefront, and we only sell products that we can put in a box and ship easily. So things like our court surfaces, that stays a B2B product for us. And if there are people interested, we've taken a separate track over there where we've built relationships with tennis court builders that can help with that sort of element of our business. But we built websites in the native languages, and we had to learn about exactly about how to use the right terminology and find the right search terms that would matter for people, and that took some time. And we use IBT. They've been a fantastic partner for us. I mentioned we started off with a company that we thought would be good as an. There we go. How's that? Am I back? It says audio connection restored, so hopefully I'm back now. Well, yep. Technical difficulties are some of the challenges with international business, since we do so much by video conference now. But anyhow, just to sort of bring the story around, we use Shopify, and it's been a very effective website for us. But we translated everything like we were a German company into German. We did a French website as well, and obviously in the UK we have an English website. And for the lobster business, we're getting ready to launch that in Europe. And for that one, we're actually going to use Shopify to translate everything for us, translate the currency, the language. And obviously, we have partners over there that can check for us. But using the Shopify International is a little bit of a different approach. But we think that's going to make sense. And it's going to allow us to sell direct from the US rather than creating German subsidiaries. So that's a viable option for you to look for as well. So maybe I'll just wrap up with saying a few things. Is just one of the things we found out is that we've used a lot of resources along the way. So we've received financial resources, funding from state and local economic development partnerships here in Virginia, which is where we're based. We've also used resources for networking, connecting us to other companies doing the same thing, and support companies for market analysis, trade missions, legal help, employment help, advice, marketing help and advice. The resources that are available through U.S. commercial services, through your local economic development partnerships, I strongly recommend trying to utilize those. If you don't know who they are, see if you can find out and make contact with them, because they've been essential for us. And I wish I had used them more from the very beginning, but I really didn't actually learn about them until we'd already gone about starting our own businesses over there. Since then, they've been a godsend. IBT, as I mentioned, has been really helpful in not just helping us build our sites, but also helping us actively manage our sites. They've been a real business partner for us in that we meet with them once a month to review everything that's happening, and we tell them what we want to accomplish, and they help us accomplish that. So there's lots of resources available through these organizations, and I just would strongly encourage you to go after it. Hopefully that's helpful, and I'm going to pass it back to Susanna.
Hi, Susanna. The audio just started working for me.
James, I can hear you, but I don't think Susanna's able to hear us for some reason, or if she is, she's
I'm not sure you can even hear me anymore. I'm not sure what happened there. It's a disaster. Let's see if we can go ahead. James, perhaps you could also help out here. I have regained audio. Right. I'm hoping you can hear me. Can you hear me? Shall I continue? We wanted really to talk about e-commerce strategies.
Yes,
e-commerce strategies. I want to also thank Pat very much for all of that. And let's just continue and see what happens. Hopefully you can hear me. Right, e-commerce strategies. First of all, e-commerce strategies for America's exporters. We are an online company, what's called a full stack online marketing company. So basically we create websites, all different kinds of websites, light ones, heavy ones, all kinds. Most of all, they have to be relevant to the local buyer. And that's, I think, what both Pat and James was talking about in terms of making sure that you were relevant to that local buyer, the local buyer persona. And this is especially important for your e-commerce enablement, as that is really the key of making sure that you're connecting. You need a lot of trust in that e-commerce journey to make sure that your buyer actually goes through the whole process all the way through to the final checkout. Whether that's on a B2B, it can be even a request to quote, or a B2C journey. So if you want to learn more, please check out our website, and you can find a lot of resources there as well. And these online global programs that we have, which are specifically designed for America's exporters looking to go global. Now, a couple of things about gosh, this is really terrible. Here we go. E-commerce strategy. I wanted also to talk about some of the latest trends that are going on at the moment in the world of e-commerce. And I mean, that could fill an entire webinar on its own. But I just wanted to highlight these few. Obviously, AI is the major one at the moment. But another sort of wall that we're seeing, and I think James brought this up as well, is e-commerce. And we're seeing company after company coming to us and saying we need at least some form of e-commerce enablement. If that's a B2B company, it could even be sort of through a request to quote. The other big thing that we're seeing, and again, this was reflected with both Pat and James's presentations, but especially I think Pat, is this combination between personalization and community. And you have that desire, it's almost paradoxical as you have the internet with trillions of data points, and it's all about AI and algorithms. But at the same time, people want a personalization. And you'll find that the big trend at the moment, certainly in terms of websites and online marketing, is connecting to a person and to that local connection, that local point, and that feeling of community. Other major trends at the moment, social commerce, or selling online through social media. Data privacy and data compliance are increasingly demanded. Perhaps the U.S. is a little bit on the lower edge of that spectrum, but certainly across the globe, we're seeing a lot more demand for data privacy and good compliance. All this to say, for us, the future of sales is very much digital first, omni-channel, and customer or person-centric. Never forget, even if you're selling online, especially if you're selling online, you're still selling to a person, and you need to connect, hopefully with better audio than we're doing today. You need to connect with the individual. And that means connecting on the platform that they want to connect on in the way and the time that they want. So James gave me a lot of statistics about the e-commerce generally. I wanted to point out that this huge long graph, the red arrow is the USA average. So average weekly purchases is B2C, is the US, red arrow. All of that on the left is the world. So and it really, really is a totally global phenomenon. And I want to also to point out sort of, the buyer persona in all of this. How do you connect with your international buyer persona? And Pat mentioned in his talk that the international buyer persona, in his case, German buyer persona, could sometimes be different from your US buyer persona. So here on the right, you have a picture of L'Oreal USA. And L'Oreal takes a lot of time to figure out exactly who their buyer personas are in the different markets. So look at the difference, for example, when you have L'Oreal Mexico. I mean, they very, very deliberately chose that image for that market. So it's a little bit different from the US. It's still very urban on the top floor, but more collegiate, perhaps also. And men are in the picture too. And then Canada, known as the sort of the melting pot, gets a different look from L'Oreal. Again, a company that's very conscious of the different buyer persona in their different markets. So when we talk about localized websites, what do we really mean with localized websites? We're talking about websites that are relevant and respectful of your local buyer. So if you're targeting Germany, then obviously it's in German, but maybe also the cultural norms are different. Maybe today, the 6th of December, you're wishing everyone a happy Santa Claus Day. Rather than saying happy Christmas, you're saying happy Santa Claus because it's Santa Claus Day today. You're making sure that your domain name is correct. You're making sure that you're optimized for the local search engines. Obviously, things like mobile enablement, but also regulatory, GDPR for Germany. So there's different things that happen in different markets. It's all about being very respectful to that local buyer persona and connecting with them. So just one little example of how that can work. Canada and the U.S. are very, very similar, closely tied markets. But even there are differences between a Canadian buyer and a U.S. buyer. And you have to know those differences. And it can go from everything from logistics to how they're purchasing, to how they're ordering, to the words they use. So again, it's doing the research and the preparation that is so fundamental for successful e-commerce. I wanted to give you some quick overviews of other websites besides Hartrue as examples. This is a company called Oscarware. They do grill toppers, and they invented grill toppers. And they have major, major problems with price pressure because these things are now sold, or cheap imitations are sold in places. And so they decided to make a very strong website, e-commerce enabled website, and strong marketing in order to build brand awareness. The only way they could combat against the pricing pressure was with that strong, unique brand awareness that they wanted to bring on. of this. So online marketing and a very strong brand awareness that they've put into all of their marketing. Another company is called, well, this is a Michigan company. They do something which looks quite ordinary. They take products and they wrap them, they eradicate rust, as they say, ABI. And really, again, they say we don't want to be just seen as a commodity or as a company that just produces just a commodity thing that is highly industrial. We want people to know that we're people behind all this, that there's a company with real people that care about the quality. So again, a lot of it has to do with the people, with the brand, and then making it seriously easy for their clients to pick up their products when they wanted to. So their website, which is e-commerce enabled, is very, very, very simple, very, very clean, and very organized for that. Very easy to do business side. Another example I just wanted to show you was something we're seeing a lot of, which is basically companies that build websites which are e-commerce enabled, but that drive traffic to the local in-market partner that actually does the fulfillment. So there's a company called Amsoil, based in Wisconsin. They produce synthetic oil and have distributors around the world, but they want to control their marketing, their brand, and therefore they take over the marketing and funnel the leads through to the local distributor for fulfillment. This means really that they have a strong visibility on all the sales, and it helps them also manage and judge their distributors, which is so important. So those are some of the examples as well of what we're seeing coming down in terms of different types and different strategies for websites. The last one I wanted to show you is also e-commerce enabled, and this is what we're seeing a lot of at the moment. Is B2B companies which say, okay, I don't want to be fully e-commerce enabled because we have a level of personalization and of servicing and of specification that goes in. But what I want, what my customers want, is they want to be able to pick and choose the parts, put it into a basket or an order builder, and get a quote. So this is effectively an e-commerce website. It just ends with a request to quote rather than with a payment gateway. But this is something we're seeing a lot of at the moment for this. So basically, sort of recapping, for us, seeing from our point of view, what we're seeing for clients, whether it's Hartrue or other ones that we're seeing going into international markets, if you combine a strong website with the online marketing, it really acts as a very effective sales rep in the market and allows you to penetrate a market with e-commerce enablement and just really get traction there. It does take time. It's not instant, but done right, it does have sustainable, solid, and good ROI. So takeaways and next steps, and then I know that there are a lot of questions, and thank you again for bearing with us as we deal with some technical issues. So takeaways, basically, from our point of view, why we think it's so important that America's exporters get the right online tools they need in today's world. The world is absolutely online. And James mentioned earlier about the penetration of e-commerce across Asia and Europe as well. So it really is a tremendous way of plugging into local markets and expanding your growth across the globe. For that, you need to really make sure that your online assets are working really hard for you. With that, I'm going to just basically, how about this? We take a second out and I'm going to launch a little poll. Let's see if we can get this. Let's see. Would you like to learn a bit more about some of these e-commerce enablement, e-commerce things? Then please let us know, and we'll be happy to send you research or some white papers or things like that. We're very happy to do that as well. So just let us know. As I said, we could send you some research, put you in touch with people at the e-commerce and with James, or go through the as I said, send you some. Thank you all very much for voting on this very quickly. That's very kind. Thank you. Great. We shall definitely get in touch with you in due course. Other takeaways from us really is just this focus on the websites. I said the websites and how good they are, the localized websites as well. There we go. And let's see, close that poll. Now I'm really stuck. Right. Fine. How do I get out of this poll? Close this out. No. Right. Wow, we are having a lot of difficulties today. I'm sorry about this, folks. Not sure why. Otherwise, not even sure what you're even seeing anymore. Bit of a disaster. Let's see. Other points we wanted to highlight again, just for the end, was just to the e-commerce enablement and the e-commerce services from the e-commerce solution center and U.S. Commercial Service with James. And please let us know if you'd like to get in touch there with them. And also the online global program from us, if you want to get in touch with us for that. And then any questions you might have at the end. We are also having I'm not sure you're even seeing my screen anymore. I'm very sorry. James, if you're connected at all, if you want to take over, please do. Because I'm not sure we can really do that much more. I'm sorry. We're going to have to send you a recording of all this and get back to you with the questions you put in for the chat box. We're sorry. There are a lot of questions you've put in, and we will be getting back to you, I think, by email for that. We've noted your questions, and we will get back to you. Thank you very, very much for your indulgence, and our apologies for our difficulties today. This is the first, actually. This is the first. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you back sometime soon. We might have to redo this one, to be honest. Take care. Thank you very much.